Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, I wanted to share a few tips and tricks for landing your first job in the GIS industry. I've been working in this industry for about 5 or 6 years now, and it's a pretty cool industry. It's a niche tech field that you can get into, and I'm a fan of it as a career path, so I figured I would just share a few tips, a few things that I did, I think, that helped me land my first job. So I've got my trusty notebook over here with a few tips written down, and we're just going to go through these and we'll talk about them very briefly. I want to keep this relatively short, but the first tip is obviously you're going to need to know the basics of GIS. So you're going to need to know things like what select by location is, select by attribute, raster versus vector data, a shapefile, a file geodatabase. You're going to need to know. You're going to have to be able to succinctly define GIS. So you're going to have to pretend you're trying to explain GIS to someone who has no idea what it is. And what I usually like to do is I like to say it's working with data that has a spatial component to it. So normally if you think of like normal tabular data, like a CSV file of, say, like businesses, for example, businesses in the US, you would just have a huge list of businesses. But the moment you add a location, a piece of information that describes the location, like the latitude, longitude, then all of a sudden you're able to map this data onto a map and visualize it, and you start to see trends, trends and patterns, and that really gets at the root of what GIS actually is and how powerful it can be. So yeah, just try to come up with your own definition of GIS. Don't try to memorize something. Just come up with something in your head that makes sense. Yeah. Also, just know what GIS stands for, Geographic Information Systems. But yeah, I'll just leave the rest up to you. Just know the basics of GIS, and that's tip number one. Tip number two is have a portfolio. So when I graduated college, I had a website. I still have my website actually, and it's a very simple HTML static website that just has links to some of the projects that I did in college that were related to GIS. And they were literally just pictures. Like it wasn't a web application. It was just like a picture of something I like, a map that I produced with ArcMap or something, and just have that up on the website, put it on your resume. I think that really helps you stand out if you like put your website address up at the header of your resume next to where your name and address is. Most recruiters they're not used to seeing like a website on someone's resume, so I think when they see that, it helps you stand out a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I can definitely make videos on how to come up with a simple portfolio if there's people interested. I know you're probably not trying to be a web developer, so it's still just a good skill to have. And the basics of web development, it's not too hard. Also, you want to have like a GitHub, I would recommend. So I have a GitHub. Even if you're not a developer, just open an account, so you can use that account to link places, to like put on a portfolio. And maybe just add like a few GIS related documents, things like that. So yeah, just have like a presence online. That would be my next. It's the same tip actually, but just be out there online. Step three is you want to learn both Esri and open source software. So you want to focus, if you're lucky enough and you have access to Esri products, you want to know ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro. These days, you could probably get away with not even learning ArcMap, since that's being outdated. It's being, what's the word, like sunsetted. They're going to stop supporting it really soon, so just focus on ArcGIS Pro. I'm pretty sure they have free trials of it, so you can work with that, and also work with QGIS. So don't neglect the open source solutions. You can learn all the same concepts with something like QGIS, and I use that all the time. So yeah, just be familiar with both of them, because there's different companies that use, some of them use both, some of them use only Esri, some of them use only open source. I've worked at all those combinations of places, so you're always going to run into that stuff. So yeah, just that would be my next tip, is be familiar with both of those. And for the purpose of your first job out of college, I would say just focus on the desktop software. So you don't need to learn ArcGIS Enterprise. You don't need to learn GeoServer or Postgres or any database stuff. Just really work on the desktop, and that's going to help you get like a geospatial technician / analyst role. And from there, you can build on your skills and move into analyst / developer or engineer, or something like that. Next step here is learn Python. So even if you don't want to be a developer, I would recommend learning the basics of Python. It's something you can put on your resume, and companies love to see that you know how to work with Python. So that's where the GitHub portfolio comes in. Just whatever you learn. So watch some tutorials, watch some of my tutorials, and put some of that code on GitHub, and then you can point people in your interviews. You can point them to your GitHub where you have code, Python, of you doing stuff. I think that helps a lot. So that would be just very beneficial. And Python has helped me a lot in my career. It's helped me get promotions, make more money, and all of that stuff, and just learn. It's given me the opportunity to work on cooler projects, basically. So I would highly recommend it. And the next step is just be patient. So it took me like 6 months after graduating college to get my first job. Partly on me. I didn't have any internships, had a pretty bad GPA, and I graduated in December instead of like May/June when most college seniors graduate. So it's kind of a weird time to look for a job, but yeah, just keep applying. I applied to a bunch of different places, and finally one of them was interested, and it took a while going back and forth negotiating, but eventually I was able to get the job. And that's it. Those are my basic tips for landing your first position in the GIS industry. So hope that was helpful. I'm planning to make more videos like this. I want to do another video similar, but how you can get your first GIS developer job. I think I'll work on something like that. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comments section, and I will answer them as best as I can. And yeah, thanks for watching.